let's explore the two types of devotion. And the two types of devotion is very similar to the two types of meditation or the two types of prayer. So if you're interested in meditation and prayer, I do have two videos that explore the two types of meditation and the two types of prayer. But the two types of devotion is really the same thing. It's the same as the two types of meditation, the two types of prayer. The first type of devotion is devotion to an object. Any object is a form. So it's devotion to a form. This could be devotion to your partner, devotion to your business, devotion to your teacher, devotion to a garden, devotion to a pet. It could be devotion to anything. Now, where people get caught up is, well, what is that thing that I should be devoted to? I've made another video about this. Pretty sure the title is The Path of Devotion, where I answered someone's question of what should I be devoted to? This requires listening to your heart. So let's say it's the garden that you are devoted to, that you are literally in love with your garden. This is what you're devoted to. You've fallen in love with your garden. Now, a lot of times, this word devotion is very religious or spiritual. But you can totally be devoted to something and never hear that word, never understand what devotion is. It's not necessary. It's not necessary to understand what devotion is. Because actually, when we are experiencing devotion, what is being surrendered is all of the intellectual understanding, figuring it out, definitions, concepts. That's all being let go of. And we're experiencing love. In this case, it's love for nature or love for the garden. So this intellect, which is constantly dividing things, separating things, is actually surrendered. It's let go of. It's at rest. And without that activity of separating and dividing, we're experiencing what we usually call, I'm one with the garden. I'm one with the object that I love. I'm one with my partner. I'm one with my business. I'm one with my pet. This is the experience of love. Love is the absence of separation. So, whatever the object is that you are in love with, it doesn't really matter. But this form of devotion to a form, is what we can call limited love. It's love that's limited to just the garden, or it's love that's limited to just the teacher, or love that's limited to just your partner, or love that's limited to just your pet. So it's limited. Which brings us to the other type of devotion, which is formless devotion or subject devotion. Instead of being devoted to an object, there's simply devotion of the subject. Instead of being devoted to a form, there's devotion of the formless. Now, this is the highest devotion. If you've watched those other videos about meditation, the two types of meditation or the two types of prayer, you see it's very similar. It's the same, actually. It's just we're using a different word. The highest meditation is the formless meditation. The highest prayer is the formless prayer. The highest devotion is the formless devotion. By experiencing the formless and having love for the formless, being devoted to the formless, this love is not going to one object, such as the garden. The love is actually not going to anything. It's not being directed to any object. Any object would be a limitation. It's just this object. It's just this form. But when there's love for the formless, this is the highest devotion. Now it doesn't feel like love is dependent on anything. Devotion to a form, it always feels like when I'm with my partner, I'm experiencing love. When I'm gardening, I'm experiencing love. But if I'm not with my partner, or if I'm not gardening, then I'm not experiencing love. Whereas formless devotion, when you're experiencing the formless, you are experiencing love. The love is not going to anything. This love that you are experiencing is the love of no thing. And no thing is limitless. So you're experiencing limitless love. No thing is not dependent on anything. So what seemed to be the garden as a source of love, or your partner as a source of love, with formless devotion, you're experiencing unconditional love. There's no condition. You can sit, experience love. You can drive a car, experience love. You can take a walk, experience love. You could be married, experience love. You can be single, experience love. You could be rich, experience love. You could be broke, experiencing love. It doesn't depend on any condition. It's not dependent on anything. Just like with object meditation or form meditation, object prayer, form prayer. Devotion to an object, form devotion, will always feel limited. It will always feel like the love that you're experiencing depends on that thing. So just like meditation and prayer, it could be seen as the starting point. And there's a natural progression from form meditation to formless meditation, from form prayer to formless prayer, from form devotion to formless devotion. The devotion to an object is much like planting the seed of love, in which this love starts to sprout and grow within you. It starts to flower. This love for creativity, this love for your partner, this love for your pet, appears to be just the start. You have love for your partner, but you don't have the same love for your neighbor. You have love for your pet, but you don't have the same love for the dog down the street. You have love for your garden, but you don't have love for your friend's garden. It's limited love. There's an association with the object that we then believe to be the source of this love. That my partner makes me feel love. The garden makes me feel love. The dog makes me feel love. When we realize the formless, we see that actually this love is formless. And this formless love is directed to the form. That actually when we look at this experience of falling in love with someone, falling in love with your pet, falling in love with whatever you are creating, falling in love with your garden, we see that actually when we're experiencing that form totally, when we've embraced it fully, there's an absence of resistance. There's what's being experienced is as if you've merged with it. That's why we say things, I was one with nature. That actually by experiencing it fully, we then experience the formless. That form, gardening, the pet, the partner, that form is actually made of the formless. But typically we're unaware that this is happening. That when we're gardening, we are devoid of our sense of self, our identity. This identity is surrendered. There's no me and the garden. There's no separation. There's just simply what is. There's just simply gardening. And this is what we love most. What we love most is love itself, and that's the experience of love, is the absence of separation. There's no me in the garden. For that moment of gardening, it's timeless. Love is timeless. We often describe this experience as the flow state. I was just gardening and 2 hours just flew by. Time flies when you're having fun. I love the gardening. There's a great appreciation, thankfulness, gratefulness. There's a fullness. This fullness is the fullness of love. There's no resistance. There's no suppression. There's no fear. There's just love, which is the absence of the fear, the suppression, the resistance. So in this form devotion, we are getting a taste of the formless, typically unknowingly. And it's as if we keep going back to that form over and over. What sometimes you feel like is a love affair. Could be your knitting, your music, or your cooking. That's why I said you don't need to be religious, you don't need to be spiritual to know devotion. Often the question, what do you love most, reveals what you are devoted to, reveals what is the object, the form that you are devoted to. Is it cooking? Is it woodworking? Is it your business? Is it your garden? And notice how you keep going back to it. Now, what you are going back to is not really the food or the knitting or the project that you're creating or the pet. What you're going back to is the experience of love. It just appears to be limited because it appears to be this one object, this one thing, this one passion, this one hobby is the thing that I love. And like I said, this plants the seed. But this starts to grow and it starts to blossom. As it's starting to grow and blossom, you start experiencing the formless more and more. You start to experience this love that is not limited to this one activity or thing. It's not limited to cooking. It's not limited to knitting. It's not limited to running. It's not limited to gardening. It's not limited to your husband or your wife. It's not limited to your dog or your cat. This flowering, this growth, just starts feeling like you are in love. And the same love that you had for your garden, you start having for nature everywhere. The same love that you have for your dog, you start having the love for animals. And like this, you start feeling this expansion of love. The more you're experiencing the formless. And the more you're experiencing the formless, the more we can say that that devotion has shifted from form devotion to formless devotion. So this love is not limited by anything. You're experiencing the love when you're gardening and when you're not gardening. You're experiencing the love when you're with your partner and you're without your partner. And this is the highest form of devotion, is formless devotion. That the love is not limiting itself to just one thing. Experiencing the formless is actually experiencing your true nature. That our true nature is formless. This love is formless. So you're experiencing this formless love. This formless love is unlimited. It's unconditional. Typically, religions will call this love for God. Depending on the tradition, it may be love for yourself. But experiencing this formless love, you are experiencing this love as yourself. That it feels as if you are embodying this quality of love. And quality wouldn't be the right word. But this love is your nature. Now, without devotion, life is dry. It's very difficult. This devotion has a perfume to it, has a fragrance to it, has an aroma to it. It has a sweetness to it. This love starts transforming everything. You find that as you're experiencing this formless love, which you would never call formless love in the experience of it. The experience of it is that there are no thoughts about it. There's no labeling. It's only to convey this by speaking about it that words are being used. But the experience of the formless is simply being. So quite literally, you are being love. You are love. That you're not at a distance. You aren't separate from this love. It's in this devotion, this highest devotion, that even if you were to consider yourself as a devotee to God, that in this devotion, the devotee is dissolving and is dissolved. And what remains is love. That there are not two. There appears to be two. Something devoted to the garden, something now devoted to that which is formless. It's in this devotion that you are being dissolved, and it's love that remains. And this is the love that you are. You see how similar this formless devotion is to formless meditation or formless prayer. The highest meditation, the highest prayer, the highest devotion is all the same. It's in this devotion that there's a transformation, a total transformation. It's in this devotion that there's surrender. That you're simply being the love that you are. We can say that the highest devotion is being yourself. You're devoted to the love that you are. It's difficult to speak about it because language is dualistic, but it's as if you love the love that you are, that love loves itself. In this devotion, the devotee is dissolved, and all that remains is love. And it's revealed that everything is made of love. It's revealed that everything, all the apparent objects, all of the apparent forms are actually made of the formless. Literally everything is made of love. And this love is what you are. So what remains is you, the love that you are. And you realize that this love that you are is not separate from anything. It is everything. That you are simultaneously no thing and everything. That you are simultaneously formless and all forms. That there is only love. And this love is what you are.